Hello everybody, today I have the pleasure to propose to you this key 75 entitled Invisible Words, Invisible Dimensions, Hereafter. So this is the third pillar regarding this series of 4 pillars. The first one was energies, the second one was egregores, and this one is hereafter, knowing that the next one will be aliens. Well, let's start with the presentation, let's say the structure of this series of 4 videos regarding hereafter. We're going to first define what is the passage, the life after life, okay? What is hereafter, the concept, okay? Is not only death, it is also some invisible information that you can have access even with altered consciousness, modified state of consciousness, okay? Second video, so we're gonna see the actors of invisible world, that to say entities, spirits, deceased, implants, muse, witchcraft, and so on and so forth, okay? We'll see also the third chapter, the reincarnation. For example, the fact that this is prevalent and present in all the religions, all the spiritualities. Yes, I do insist, even those from holy books, okay, monotheism, that to say Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, through the spectrum of esoteric currents, okay, Kabbalah, Gnosticism, and Sufism, it is prevalent. So the original essence of these messages were, let's say, part of the reincarnation. And the last chapter, the last video will be trans-incarnation, trans-genealogy, okay? The notion of consciousness, superposition of consciousness, lines, timelines, and so on. And we will go very far away. In these videos, I will have a lot of testimonies, my personal testimony with this approach, with this relationship I have with hereafter, okay? So I will try to explain, for example, my vision I had, my experience I had, also some testimonies I had when I had my rituals and my initiation of shamanism in Mongolia in 2016. I spent 12 days with a real shaman from Mongolia. How was it? What we did concretely, and so on. So it will be not theory, it will be experience, okay? Just testimonies. Well, before starting the first part, I just wanted to show you here the hereafter, no, the here now. And by the way, this is funny because hereafter in English, okay, the translation in French, au-delà, is beyond, okay? Beyond, not here, is beyond. And hereafter means, currently, but after. So it's like a paradox, and actually for me both concepts are 2 faces of the same middle, okay? So anyway, here, not after, here now. We are in southwest of Turkey, okay? You can see in almost mid of November, it's still beautiful weather, it's amazing, and so on. So here are olive trees, okay? That's, I find, gorgeous. This is only in Mediterranean countries, okay? And here is the garden we are sharing with other people, but it's very beautiful. There is orange trees, there is animals here, and it's like of Garden of Eden, okay? So also the metaphor is the fact that these trees are the most resistant, the strongest one, okay? Beyond of that, you can see the structure of the trees, but you cannot see the invisible part, that to say the roots. Is a metaphor, of course, because the roots of the existence is through the hereafter as well. It is full of information that our eyes cannot see, because this is just a word of feeling things, okay? So that's extremely important. Olive tree is also the symbol of peace. Rest in peace. But before expecting to rest in peace. Why would we could not expect to live in peace? Basically, first, to live in peace, and for that, maybe we need to be in peace with the concept of life after life, okay, death, quote mark. Okay, so once we are more liberated by this, you know, this fear that a lot of people in humanity have, maybe we can live more deeply this fascinating life. So, you know, it's the symbol for Greek of eternity. Eternity, as I like to say, for playing with the word. Eternity means eternity is a mix, is a neologism with ether, the fifth elements, encompassing and tangling everything in the visible and invisible world. Okay. And in the Judaic tradition, it's, you know, anointing. It's used for anointing, okay, for sacred rites, symbolizing the peace with life and with God. And it's the same principle in the Bible. The Mount of Olives is when Jesus, Yeshua, gives the prayer of our Father, you know, and this is the moments he stick back the notion of the relationship with the invisible world, God, and human beings through their divinities. Okay, so in the Quran as well, the olive tree is blessed because is the universe symbol of the universal mankind, let's say, and the olive oil symbolize the divine light. I think it's extremely beautiful, metaphoric, and romantic as well. So, as a kind of introduction, you know, a lot of people would like to be closer to the invisible world. But the invisible world is very close. It's not after, it's here and now. It's full of information here. What is not visible is already the hereafter. Hereafter is not only death or life after life. It is the full of information. You know, I told you in Science and Spirituality, previous series of videos, that 4% of 4% of our reality is made of matter, tangible matter, even if everything is energy. But 27% of our reality is dark matter that you cannot see. But the scientists all agree on the fact that there are information within, okay? And same for dark energy, same, 67%. So 96% of our reality is not visible. So, but there are data everywhere. There are information absolutely everywhere. You know, as Victor Hugo said, this is a sad thing to consider that nature talks, but mankind remains deaf. Okay, so we have synchronicity all the time. We have messages all the time through the guides, through those people from our family and so on, all the time, through our dreams and so on. But we cannot decipher, or we cannot pay attention, or we cannot, let's say, you know, in our Western world, Asian philosophy and in Oriental philosophy is more feeling than conceptualization, thinking, reflecting, and so on. So those who are waiting for, you know, an email, in quote mark is kind of provocation, of course, the message in general of the hereafter, they are like flash, okay, like intuition. It's like, whew, I feel it. Okay, I have my answer. But like a concept, not as a conceptual principle, but as a, I don't know, like something, you feel it and you have this information, okay? So, let's try to go further. So, life after life, this first part, concretely the goal is to reassure in order to live more sincerely, okay, and more intensively our existence. Secondly, also to help, to accompany the journey of mourning, of a grief of a person, for example. The one who passed away and those who are staying there, okay? There is an accompaniment as well. And third, it is to prepare yourself in the ideas like retirements. You're not out of the society immediately. You have to prepare yourself. Some of them, they have a lot of people problem for finding meaning of life after retirement is a pity, because I believe in reincarnation within this life. It means that if it's you finish at 60 years old, you can travel, you can do association, you can do many things, maybe much more interesting than within your work. So what is it? Death, completely, and hereafter. So death first, and then hereafter as a global concept. Okay, death basically is, with sex, one of the most important taboos in our modern Western society. Okay, death. Okay, alpha and omega. Sex would be alpha, the beginning, and death would be the end. But as an eternal cycle like this or so. But why is so taboo? And especially in Western, because in the materialistic civilization for which we base everything, especially on tangible reality, materiality, consumption, and so on and so forth, you know the story, the real faith disappear a little bit, okay, qualitatively. Huh? So there is, let's say, two schools, I could say, two visions. First, those who think after death there is absolutely nothing. Okay, you are eaten by the little animals, insects, and then you are not aware of not being aware. You are not aware that you are not conscious anymore. You are nothing else. You are the nothingness. So it's for me it's a little bit. Activating anxiety when I think about that, but it's not my feeling, of course. But, and the second school, there is a life after life, there is something else bigger and eternal. It's endless cycles and so on, and we go further. Albert Einstein, the great scientist, said the following: I believe in life after death, simply because energy cannot die. It circulates, transforms, and never stops. It's Einstein who said that. So it's quite reassuring and reconforting as well as this concept for those who don't believe necessarily. So why concretely I want to share this with you is to be at peace with death, with this, to rest in peace, to live in peace, and so on. Okay, to support for grief, for bereavement, and also to prepare, like retirement, I repeat myself voluntarily, and to reconnect to invisible world in the notion of larger perspective, to widen our field of consciousness. Okay, so of course, no need to precise, there is no proselytism. It's not because I believe that I think everybody has to believe. Secondly, it's impossible to demonstrate by A plus B then it exists concretely. Of course, there is testimony and so on, but this is difficult. So those who are laughing and is like mockery and so on, okay, that's fine. And I had that several times. Okay, no problem with that. But and also in addition of that, I think it's better that we cannot demonstrate the existence of the hereafter. Why? Because it would be like imposing to everybody, like a dictatorship, of the fact that, for example, I really want to die and I hate life and it's like this and I cannot change anymore, okay? And then I demonstrate to someone that, no, there is something else after. No, don't piss me off with you. I don't want to exist anymore. I want to be unplugged. It's a pen. It's a choice. It's a will, a free will, okay? So we don't have to judge that. So I think also it's important to know that we don't have the same protocol than with a scientist approach. That's completely normal. So death, as a matter of fact, is progressive, is not only arriving one day. Okay, there is the last drop of the milk into the coffee, changing the color. It's a matter of fact. But we can consider that we produce more deaf part of our body, regenerating cells and so on and so far, since we were born than what you have in front of you now, for example. Okay, let's go a little bit further in this approach progressively. In Islam, it is said, die before dying. What does it mean? Die before die or die before dying. It means literally, this is not to suicide, of course not. It is just to stop to identifying your ego, your personality. Persona is the mask of the character that you have, the wardrobe, okay, the costume that you endorse for being an actor in this existence. Existing means literally in Latin to separate. You separate from the great wall, the great all, the everything, okay, the consciousness, okay, literally God, whatever, and you take a distance because you cannot admire a painting being the painter and the painting and the landscape, and you need to step forward, you need to step backwards, okay, so we have been to embody this experience, we have been obliged to separate. So to experience individuality, duality within individual, okay? So it means the experience of that. And why do I precise that? Because this is stopping to identify necessarily to the ego as a finality. It is a good servant, but a bad master. That, okay? It means that, it doesn't mean that, I don't want to have ego, no, and then I'm what, a plant? No, it's, you have a character, you are here to make an experience of the unity within. Unity. Y-O-U-N-I-T, okay? I like this, to say that because it's actually the principle of recomposing the different pieces of the broken mirror, and everybody own a piece, and you combine this to admire the beauty of the masterpiece, if you catch what I try to tell you. So the hereafter is not only death. The hereafter is the information that you're gonna see. Some spirits, some information, maybe some superposition of states of different little me, okay? You cannot probably see my past from the beginning of this video, but they are here as information, and the future, and so on, and some futures, and so on. We will enlarge this perspective a little bit later. You know, I'm gonna tell you about an experience I had in 2001, and it was out-of-body experience first, during 24 hours. I took back, to recover, I took 7 days. I thought I was crazy. It was really intensive. It was astral travel, a little bit like the journey of, depicted in the book of Enoch, okay? And I was out of my body, and I was feeling the consciousness, I mean, the unity. And also I was not within the time, I was at time, okay? It's strange, it's completely, and I didn't know if it was few minutes when I came back, or if it was 3 or 5 centuries, you see? So it has been really initiatory. It has been a great source of initiation for me, because I really experience, but not through my ego, but being out of the ego, of the also perspective of the field of consciousness. And I wish that everybody can live that. After that, your life changes completely. And this is something, yeah, I had really the feeling to be in front of the Akashic records, you know, like the library, the universal library. And I was seeing the different screen of space-time, like the different now, with perspective of the illusion of the time, and also with all the direction coexisting at the same time, and all the scenario as well. So all the potential, all the scenario, meaning thereby, and having the feeling that a part of me, not Aurélien, that I was embodying, I was experiencing everything. I had access to everything. And I could feel everything and everybody at the same time. And it was absolutely incredible and unbelievable. And I swear to you, when I came back, I took 7 days to recover. I had the feeling to be completely crazy, frankly speaking. It was even traumatizing at the beginning. I mean, it was in between. It was extraordinary. But then it's difficult to believe in that. You think you are crazy. And then to put words, I was talking all the time during 1 week after that. And then I was so exhausted. I remember we would just freshly arrive in a new city. I was 21 years old. And my partner at this epoch, I say, okay, we need to breathe a little bit and so on. And I walk on the street and randomly I say, oh, there is something here. And we just, I enter in a shop. It was a bookstore, but a big one. And I immediately went to esoteric department. I didn't know the word. And I say, take a book to my partner. She took the first one. And it was exactly in the same order, the same thesis that I never heard. So it was like through this journey, I received a lot of information. And in parallel, I read this book at distance. It's like completely crazy. And even that's, I took time to thought. Hopefully, she was testimonying. She was my witness in quote America of this experience. But it was so derooting. It was so great and crazy at the same time. So, by the way, yeah, I wanted to tell you, to share. Even the information that I have now, some metaphor, and so it's coming back from this moment, like singularity point, my bing bong, maybe of my consciousness, I don't know. But anyway, so, and you know, it's like the silkworm, you know, it's compact and you cannot do anything with it. You need to, you know, to extract and to, not to filter, but to weave it. Okay, it's the same for that. It was so much information that then I needed time to spread over this information. Well, anyway, and in parallel of that, I never mentioned, but what I am writing for books, it's automatic writings. And I have flash of vision of what sometimes happen and so on. I like this tag channel and or medium and so on. I have some abilities, some capacities like many people since I'm a kid, by the way. And sometimes I'm wrong, sometimes it's not working anymore. You know, like my GPS, I'm losing my connection like everybody. And I have friends of mine, they are much more accurate. Okay, so, but yeah, what I'm gonna depict here, for example, is through certain of my books, novels, romance, whatever the style. In French, some of them are in English. And this is channeling. One of them is about Hereafter. And I try through different perspectives to put some example. Okay, it's autobiographic certain times, but also, by the way, I explain this experience of out of body in the Sage Passage, for which book available in English, for free, by the way. I will put the references later. So, then, by the way, in this book, Death, the character passed away, and he explained quite well that okay, this famous, you know, channel of light, full beam of light, full of love, full of harmony and so on, and is welcomed by his wife and first wife, okay, hand in hand, in harmony, no conflict, no jealousy. His father, despite the fact he has been completely destroyed by the First World War in France, and he was violent, he was a drunkard and so on, so he was alcoholic and so on, and he's like super vibrating, like looking like the best version of himself, so when he was before going to war, a very beautiful man, and so he's quite confident. And why? Because he did a job before on earth. He cleaned up everything. He was in peace with all the trauma he had in his life, okay? And he's taught about the big picture. For example, he lost, and this is autobiographic, a kid I mean, my grandfather, grandmother, a kid of 3 years old, and he's explained, the grandfather, that he was voluntarily reincarnation of this soul in the soul, let's say, constellation and soul summit of the lineage of the family, for him, the kid, to reincarnate in the son of this person, for after that having another son to create what they were living now. And especially the fact he's going to Mongolia for a shamanic retreat. He established a connection with the grandpa, and there is a nice dialogue, even fun sometimes, an initiation through that. Okay, so, and then he go to India and then to China and so on. But anyway, just to give you an example of what could be the big picture he received at this moment. And so his thoughts about the fact that everything is entangled, the incarnation he had, and also the different people, the characters he faced, for the good, for the bad. But anyway, he was peaceful. So, but in parallel, so he's like in a, you know, like a white, even not room, because there is no limits. It's like, you know, like a geode, like, you know, a sphere, white sphere, like a big screen, okay, 360 degrees. And he was, after this, let's say this welcoming, is just with kind of metaphor, telecommand, watching the movie of his life, okay? He was deaf. He was dead when he was 99 years old. So he could have watched entirely or accelerated during 99 years, or just focusing on the good moments or the bad moments, the trauma and so on. And certain, he's explaining certain people, as he clean up everything is quite short for him. He can just, by pleasure, watching for 1 century, 2 centuries, 3 centuries if he wants. And some people, they are blocked, literally, because they are watching some scenes for which they are traumatized, they are executioner and or the victim, okay, both, and they cannot accept to forgive and forget, okay, to excuse themselves and so on, to ask help to the person, to the soul of the person, and or to God and entirely and so on. So they are blocked, and this is the true, quotamari, health. And he explained that paradise and health is not physical, is not physical location. It is more a question of state of mind, unity, harmony, love, light, paradise. And but you can live it on earth presently, now, here and now, and not necessarily in the hereafter. And when you are in inner conflict and you hate and so on all the time, you are reducing your vibration, and you are absolutely not. You are in hell, because you are in the labyrinth, the maze of your brain, of your thoughts, actually. So he explained that. So for him, there is no final judgment in a certain extent. There is only experience. We learn from here, we accept and so on. We try to have corrective actions. So for him, it was quite short. And in parallel of that, so he's in this absolute, okay, his soul in a certain extent, and in parallel is also a part of him, like a fluid, his ghost of the grandpa is still on the room with the child crying, the fireman and the doctor coming to see. So he see the scene, except that he's just a fluid, he's transparent, he can feel it, he could even touch them and so on, but he just see them, but he doesn't have any feeling like deep fear, deep pain, deep, let's say, taste and so on. All this disappear. So concretely, he's just observing the scene. So that's why sometimes some people, so he just try to help his son. He start to establish a communication with him. So at the beginning, what else? What is that? And so on. He's not believer at all. So he think he's crazy, or he doesn't pay attention to the messages, and then he will establish a kind of relationship and a dialogue for years. And we are invited also to our ancestors, to our guides or angels, whatever the terms, but they are talking all the time. But anyway, just also very important, actually, so is like in two parallel words, okay, but with a different perspective. And concretely, he explained that when he passed away and he arrived there, is like full of light, like feeling of energy, literally love, light love, and is like you know, when you are astronauts, okay, in the space, you don't have this notion of load, this notion of gravity, this notion of weightness less, okay, so it's like floating, like in the water, in the sea, and so on. And he say, I was so full of love, receiving love, giving love, emitting love, and so on. And he say, it was Kotamari, it was the best experience of my life. So then, of course, it's not an aspiration, an invitation to do so and to suicide. Of course not, it's obvious, but to feel more in peace with that. Then he explained that the spirits, but this I will talk about this much more in the second video, spirits, entity, genes, and so on and so forth. He explained that just matter of fact, okay, yesterday, symbolically, it's true. So recording here, it's we are Wednesday 16. So yesterday was, we humanity reached 8 billion inhabitants on this planet. Okay, remember that we were 3 in 60s. Imagine. Remember 2000 we were 6, sorry, and 2010 I think we were 7. So imagine the amplification. What does it mean this? On this planet since the beginning we have been 107, okay, millions, okay, on this planet. What does it mean? We are here 8 billion, actors. In the backstage, how many? You do the calculation, 99 billions of maybe spirit, characters, still there, influencing us, taking control, vampiring you, eventually, positively, negatively, catching your energy, and so on and so forth. So this is important also to be aware. Some of them, they are positive, some of them, they are bad, because they were bad in their life, and they cannot compose with that, they think it's unfair, and so on, so forth. Actually is, let's say, explaining also the fact that ascension is the notion of radiating, rising your energy, your vibration of love, of light, and so on and so forth, and you enlarge your consciousness in general. Then he explained also what I will talk about in the in the third chapter with incarnation, is the notion of moksha, dilution of the ego in the great all, in the everything. You are not a drop anymore, you are the whole ocean. As Rumi said, the great Sufi, you are not a drop in you are not a drop in the ocean, you are the entire ocean within a drop. So, but this, he explained, the grandfather, he didn't reach this state. It's just, this is really the essence, the great masters in a certain extent, like Yeshua and so on and so forth, eventually. So, or Buddha and so on. So he explained that, and also he explained the notion of, very important thing, the notion of soul, mother soul. What is it? It is like a tree of life, for which there is an infinity of forests, and there is the big consciousness, the big soul, and then even some family trees. Okay, so one tree is, for example, a life, okay, an incarnation, or other than other incarnation, and he explained to the character, you still here, and you are in parallel. We will talk about that much more deeper in the fourth video, transincarnation. You are living in parallel of the whole scenario of this life with all the potentiality. But in parallel of that, you are also still living in the Inquisition Middle Age, during the Roman Empire, and even in the future in 2150, for example. Okay, so, and actually, after a certain while, he explained that you are living everything at the same time, like the consciousness, experiment itself through us individually. So this notion of tree of life, the notion of tree, not the flower of life, but the tree of life, is embracing all life and all potential lives, and visible, invisible at the same time. So I'm going to give you some tools now, kind of tools. I invite you to try to experiment astral travel, okay, referring to the key 66. I give many techniques for that. If you live it, you will change your mind. Otherwise, this is only theory, okay. You can learn, on the Kama Sutra by heart. If you didn't practice the mystic think, as my grandfather said, is not the same story. I think you will have understood. Also, to know, also to learn, to read some, let's say the near-death experience testimonies to reassure you. Okay, most of them, they are converging in the same direction. They are not in opposition. Okay, everybody has his own experience, of course, but it's good sometimes to give you more faith in certain extent. Eventually, to have access to intercessors, what channels, mediums, shamans, and so on. But be careful. Of course, there are a lot of charlatans. It's a matter of fact, but it's like in everything. And I knew some of them, and also, but anyway, but there are good ones, and sometimes it's good. You know, it's like, mommy, she's more comfortable when the teenager, 20 years old, is on the vacation, and you just give a call. Everything is all right, mommy. Okay, don't worry, and so on. So when you have that, you're maybe more in peace, and maybe also the person who passed away maybe can be more in peace. Spiritism. I will talk about my experience with Spiritism because I live in 2003, 3 months in Mexico with a community, but not Spiritism like kids doing. It's a kind of religion. It's coming from Allan Kardec, okay, mid of 19th century, okay, and now it's very prevalent in Brazil, especially. There are 30 millions in the world, 20 millions in Brazil, in Cuba, and so on. But anyway, and even Freud, okay, the psychanalyst, the father of psychanalysis, Sigmund Freud was doing that. So concretely, it is also to reintegrate the link of the invisible world through also the spirits. Okay, not giving all the attention, not giving them the power necessarily, is not that what I'm saying, but to be more, in Western world, I told you, we are hiding the cemeteries outside of our eyes, our towns, and so on. But a lot of people in the world, they're celebrating death, okay, like dancing around the town, the tombs. This is in Mexico. There is a ritual like this. It's Christianity, in India, in Buddhism, and so on. I mean, in Hinduism and so on, they celebrate death, not crying like. But anyway, just to try also to speak, globally speaking, and to speak regularly, if you need it, to someone who passed away, just to be more connected, and not necessarily to establish systematic dialogue. You need also, we need to let them go as well, not always to keep them energy, otherwise we are like taking them in hostage as well. So often it's good to remember them, to reactivate their members through the memories, very deep. Remember. So, good memories, sad memories, you cry when you need it. Don't refrain Okay, and why? Because it's kind of energy. It's like when there is, you know, it's heavy and the weather needs to rain and so on. Cry when you need to cry. It's allowing to discharge that energy and so on. You can do, and I will discuss about that because I did one, family constellation. Try to do if you can afford, if you know good ones, because good people who are doing, because it's kind of channeling also, but it can help because it allows to understand the patterns of your lineage. Okay, why you still keep this burden which is not belonging to you. It is belonging to your grandfather and so on. I will talk about my own ones in future videos. So I told you the very important tips is this, to reestablish a link with the invisible world, information, synchronicity, everything, but also ancestors, memories, angels, energy, guides, and so on and so forth. To be at peace with them, to forgive and forget if you have trauma, burdens for you and for them, for transmutating, I think, the low vibration of fear and segmentation, and to create, to liberate yourself and also the person, but also humanity in general. Everything is entangled energetically, emotionally, as long as we emitted some feelings. Try to know the structures that we will see also in the second video, the structure of the invisible world, the backstage, functionings of implants, possession, rituals of protection. This is important as well. Respect the notion of, I told you, mourning, okay, grief. There is 2 years recommended, but it can be 1.5 years. Don't force yourself, okay. But it's normal. You know, when you're injured, you need time. You need time to and care, but essentially time to heal. This is important. And also take attention to your dreams. You know, it's funny, I will explain my experience next with spirits and so on, next video. But I lost my grandfather in 2007, and so he suicided. Okay, my both grandfathers suicide. And I have 6 suicides in my family. So imagine the fact that I wanted to suicide during 1 year when I was 18 years old. Okay, it was a burden, okay? Hopefully I didn't do and so on, and now I can talk about that. I can help people about that and so on. But, so when he passed away, but I will explain more in details how it's happened, the day before the day of his funerals, so he was 8 years old, imagine, I saw him in my dreams, but I was in the room with him, not like a very strange one and so on. And then and then he helped me to write, without any, like one hand, okay, like, and then it was a miracle speech that everybody was fascinating at the end. So it was not me. He took my hand and so on. But I saw him in my dream. So it can be a dream, you're gonna think, yes. But what is strange, that's why the dreams have a message. This night, okay, I had the vision of my grandfather. And I knew, because I prepared these notes, I will talk about this in the future video, but during this period of time, is 15 years, I never dreamt about him again. You know, so when I was arriving, my grandmother as well was there, and I was not necessarily surprised. It was normal. I just was focusing on decoration. Oh, you didn't change the decoration because they changed in 80s, and then recently I went there in April, 3 days for changing the energy and so on. And my cousin changed completely the decoration and so on. But anyway, and I say, but you didn't change. And I said to my friend, yeah, it's very strange. And I was not focusing on my grandma. The fact that she was there, it was completely normal. And then I saw my grandfather who passed away and so on. And I say, what are you doing here? And my father say exactly the same. He was playing with my kid. He will come next week for seeing my baby. and my little prince, Atlas, and then he's taking the baby and say, yeah, it's true. I said to myself the same, why are you there, daddy? And then I started to cry and say, what is that? How come? It's possible. So I'm in a parallel world. It was in my dream. So I was scared and fascinating because they were still there. But in parallel, I said, maybe I'm going to lose something. Maybe I will lose other part of my, if I'm in parallel life and so on. And then so I wake up within this dream, but I was still in a dream. And I said, wow, it was just a dream. But I was in another dream. And I was just, I don't know why, using a calendar with quotes. Okay, so if you are a psychanalyst, try to think about it. I had no time this morning because I had a course this morning and then it was quite rush till now. I didn't have time to think about that, but I'm gonna try to focus. This is like synchronicity, or I don't know, it's because I thought about it yesterday because I print some notes. So I went to the village, to the town center. It took me 1 hour, by the way, just for you, 20 hours per week for this kind of video. So when I see the interest sometimes, and even in English, I say why I'm doing that, to be frank with you. Anyway, maybe for a transmission, and maybe will be useful in the future. I hope so, inshallah, as we say in Arabic. But anyway, the dreams are important. That's to decipher them, to analyze them. There is some messages, not necessarily direct messages, but for your own psyche. Okay, this is important. And I wanted also to say something about suicide. A lot of family suffered about that. Be at peace with that. This is a kind of disease. I experienced that. And I was not a bad person because of that. I was an alcoholic, a drug addict, and so on. Now I can help. This was just an experience. So the fact to be in peace with the concept, let's say to be in peace with the person, it allows you to rise your vibration and also humanity and the person as well. Okay, this is so important because when people are doing that, this is because they are completely lost. They lost all hope, and so we have no judgment to do that. And I think it's very important. It's a proof of real operational awakening that to respect that. Okay. I wanted to come back on the beautiful sentence of Einstein saying, I believe in life after death simply because energy cannot die. It circulates, transforms, and never stop. And I would like to change energy by love. Why? Because I believe in life after death simply because love cannot die. It circulates, transforms, and never stop. Once you emitted love, it's forever. This love is somewhere invisible, but some people can receive it, can have access to it forever. Keep this in mind. Thank you for your attention. I hope it will help you. As you know, all the roads lead to Rome and to home and to the dome. Thank you for your attention and see you very soon.